Okay, I am a little bit speechless right now, because Duhan van der Merwe just blew my mind. Okay, we know that this guy has God-given talent. We know he's probably one of the best wingers in the world, but he looked like a Superman today. Okay, he looked like Captain America, unstoppable today. Okay. Unbelievable performance by Duhan van der Merwe, and I'm speechless. Scotland wouldn't have won this game if Merwe wasn't in such an unbelievable, spectacular, physical condition going into this game. What else can I say? 2 tries. The first try he scored, right? He stepped 5 players and stiff arm palmed, fended off Alex Dombrandt. Yes, to score a try. 5 players and stiff arms Alex Dombrandt ran 60 meters to score the first try. Well, second try for Scotland. His first try of the evening. And to finish off and win the game for Scotland, 75th minute, he gets the ball in the wing. He bumps through. He steps a player. He had 2 players to beat on the wing. He steps one and literally runs over the second player and dunks the ball into the try line and scores it for Scotland to win the match. Well, to get the match-winning try for Scotland. Unbelievable, this guy. And just to literally this game, you were just thinking Scotland was just not... Things are just a bit too rusty for Scotland, to be really frank. I think Russell's accuracy is a little bit low. And Scotland was giving away a bit of penalty. The scrummaging was an issue. We'll talk about that in a minute. The set piece wasn't spectacular. And England just almost had that physical dominance. Just like that physical grip. You know, the vice grip on the Scottish team. And they're just not really able to get the Scotland free. And also the kicking game as well. England's kicking game clearly had a distance advantage with a bigger distance with their kicks. Resulting in Scotland not able to exit their own half. And you're just wondering, how is Scotland going to score? And Van der Merwe, man, just really carry the team, carry the nation on his shoulders. And yeah, he stepped up and really head and shoulders above everybody else on the field and won the game for Scotland. It was unbelievable performance by this guy. Probably, outside of his performance against the All Blacks, this will be one of probably the second best performance I've ever seen from this guy. I've criticized him a lot in the past for not living up to his, full talent, full, God-given physique. But this time, he really starting to grow into grow into what he's meant to be. Okay? What he's put on earth to do by God. Okay? He's finally getting there. And I am so happy. It was unbelievable. Amazing game. So with that being said, with the Scottish team, the overall, the Scotland did win the game, but overall the Scottish accuracy wasn't quite there. The kicking game wasn't quite accurate enough. There was unlike last year where Stuart Hogg was able to find those kicks, putting the ball out inside the English 22, making it really difficult for English exit. Was none of that this year. A lot of the kicks were just straight down the center of the field. For both teams, kicking it was pretty average, to be honest. With Stuart Hogg being injured for some time, he hasn't played for a while. Maybe that's the issue. But both teams' accuracy was a bit low. But England definitely had the advantage for having just a bigger boot, being able to kick the ball a bit further. In terms of on-field play accuracy, Scotland was actually much better at handling the ball. Both teams actually pretty good at handling the ball, but Scotland's a little bit better at utilising the space out wide than England. In the end, Scotland was actually struggling with the kicking game. They just resorted to trying to run the ball out from their own 22. And, finding great result out of that. They scored this try with the final try with Van der Merwe. Started from inside their own 22. They ran all the way, utilising both the full width of the field from both ends to set up Van der Merwe into the corner, right? It was just unbelievable play. So Scotland was definitely a little bit better than that. But overall, Finn Russell's execution in some of the kicking was just not there either. A few times he tried to do cross-field kicks, went a bit far. And also his goal kicking, he missed one right in front. Again, Finn Russell, a little bit rusty at the moment, so not really 100%. With that being said, the English team fully revamped, new players. What's gonna happen? Everybody, I was intrigued with how England was gonna play. So England came out in the first half, actually looked like a different team. Was just very, very dominant physical running with the forwards. Like, it was almost like the technique the forwards running with the ball. You can tell the Scottish wasn't able to cope with it. Like, every England forward when they get a ball, right? In fact, every play when the English play the goal, like, they pretty much die, almost like they're using their body as a weapon, almost like a battling ram. They all just kind of like dives, like bends themselves down like vertically and just kind of like diving into the tackle, whilst carrying the ball. So they're all just like spearheading themselves into the defenders and getting themselves, that extra bit of a distance into the tackle, and it was just also extremely physical, just absolutely belting the Scottish defensive line, and it was really impressive. That England was, really taking control in the first half with this just hard running game, and also England looked good when they're shifting the ball out wide. Marcus Smith, when he's given a bit of the space out wide, really, had a few things, showed a few tricks, did a nice crossfield kick, set up a try. England really looked so dangerous, so different in the first half. But then, second half started. England, I don't know why. Maybe it's because they're tired. Maybe the fatigue kicked in. Maybe, maybe it's that saying that the apple don't fall far from the tree. England started to become overly reliant on their kicking game. Yes, they had an advantage in their kicking game by kicking it long. And it was just, it was like a net zero result. You kick the ball down in the middle of the field, and then Scotland kind of kicks the back. In fact, Scotland was just able to counter-attack in a lot of this poor kicking game, getting better results and returning the kick. So England just started overly doing these kicking games. I wish I had a look at the kicking side in a minute. England had 40 kicks in this game. 40. That's more than what Eddie Jones would have done under the watch of Eddie Jones. This is like Springboks level of kicking game, right? Remember, right? Like, it's like, yeah, you talk about the kicking game being too much under Eddie Jones. This is actually way more than what I was expecting, especially in the second half. With that, and then also the body position like we were talking about wasn't just there anymore. The players stopped getting that low body position going to tackles. Obviously, fatigue kicked in, and they were just not really getting that impact over the advantage line that they were looking for. And finally, when England seems to be under pressure, the attack line becomes flatter and flatter and flatter. There was just a lack of depth to the English attack line. So everybody who was catching the ball really flat-footed, running into the defensive line, and just really not having that impact that the English players were having in the first half. Okay, so yeah, really, I don't know what you're gonna say. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Too much kicking game, and the attack too flat. Essentially, same issues that England was having under Eddie Jones in the second half, in particular. First half, much better looking team than what Eddie Jones had operating for last year, essentially. With that being said, also I want to talk about the scrummaging. I play myself as a front rower, as a tight head prop. So to me, I don't think so. Paul Williams has penalised the Scottish scrummaging a few times this game. England do have a more dominant scrum. The physicality from the English forwards definitely has an advantage over the Scottish scrums. Like, Willem Nel was really struggling, but I do think that there were a few calls where it was wrong, because Ellis Genge was boring in onto Willem Nel, and he was going under Nel's chest, and he was popping him out from the tight head, from the loose head position. So he was going at an angle and popping out. So the rule, based on my understanding, is that you are allowed to wheel the scrum, but you must go forward first. So sometimes you see like the hooker going on an angle, but the scrum goes forward, and then he kind of like pulls out an angle and pops the tight head out, and that's a penalty, which is a strategy that a lot of teams tries to do. But a lot of these scrums I saw today, which Scotland were penalised, there was no forward momentum. Genge just went straight, kind of like side board, just brought in straight onto the Willem Nel and popped him out. And for me, that's boring in. I think Paul Williams got a lot of those calls wrong, and there was one which I was really sure Paul Williams got wrong is when Dan Cole, the reserve, tied hair, got onto the field. He got on the field for the like literally immediately gets into the scrum. And yes, England did go forward. Yes, he was going on wheeling the scrum from the tight head end to the loose hair side. But he tried to pop the loose head out, the Scottish loose head out, but he actually failed to do so and popped himself out. As soon as your head pops out of the scrum, that's a penalty to Scotland. But the referee actually issued the penalty against Scotland because England was going forward. So I'm 100% sure the referee got that one wrong because Cole is the first person who popped his head out, and that is immediately a penalty against England. So I'm not sure what you think. Let me know your thoughts. I thought the scrum was really, the referee wasn't really refereeing the scrum correctly. But just let me know your thoughts. I might be wrong. I think I might be completely wrong, but you can let me know your thoughts down in the comments. With that being said, let's move on to the match stats. Okay, so like you can see, Scotland is under the hammer for most part of the game. 560 run meters for England, 398, but Scotland was able to squeeze out an extra try with the Van der Merwe performance to win the game. At halftime, the meters were pretty close. Sorry, at halftime, England was already dominating the run meters with the carry count pretty close. So England had 34 carries at halftime. Scotland had 32 carries, but England had 153 run meters, and Scotland only 92. Turnovers conceded. Scotland also overall conceded more turnovers. 12 turnovers conceded to England's 8. Tackle count, Scotland just huge amount of tackles. This is like tackle simulators. 227 tackles for Scotland, England 110. 20 missed tackles for England, 22 missed tackles. So much better tackle completion rate for Scotland, especially in the second half. I was very impressed with the Scottish defense. Really fronted up and really held on to that final moments to win the test match, which was really something that I was very impressed by. Kicking game, like I said, this is like Springboks versus Lions level of kicking. 37 for England, 40 for Scotland. Did I say 40 for England? It's the other way around. 37 for England, 40 for Scotland. England did have a slight edge in the kicking, but yeah, way too much. Just to give you an idea, right? At halftime, England only kicked 13 times. So England has made 24 kicks in the second half. That's more than most teams do for the entire game. Yeah. Scotland also kicked 23 times, but they were under the pump by the English kicking pressure. So take it as you will. This, Eddie Jones got criticized for too much kicking. The apple don't fall far from the tree. And so move on. Oh yeah, another thing England did struggle with a little bit was the lineouts. The lineout accuracy was a little bit low. Lost 2 of their own throws. One of them was just unpressured mistake from their own lineouts. And finally, the discipline. 10 penalties against England, 9 against Scotland. I do think England had a lot of breakdown, gave away a few too many breakdown penalties. Scotland did get penalised a few times under the scrum pressure. So yeah, both teams were getting a lot of their penalties out of the technical penalties from the forwards essentially. So with that being said, let's quickly recap some of the key points of the game. So yeah, like I said, from the beginning, Scotland actually looked really good, and Scotland was in the front foot a lot. There was a lot of kicking game going on early on, and it wasn't really it wasn't like the English kicking was clearly not at the beginning was clearly actually struggling a little bit. Freddie Stewart was doing like all the work. Basically was like the only guy who's getting the ball for like the first 10 minutes or so of the game. First scrum, I was really intrigued what's going to happen. Willem now gets his head popped out by Ellis Genge. Referee said it was okay, so there was a reset, but there wasn't a penalty given. But immediately, I noticed in the first scrum that Willem Nel was under pressure by Ellis Genge boarding under his chest. Ellis Genge trying to popping out by putting his head under his chest. So finally, it took 40 minutes for the first try to be scored, and it was Scotland that was actually controlling the game much better at this point. So Finn Russell was able to send number 13. What was his name? Hugh Jones into a gap, like from a line-out. Scotland throws a line-out over the top, and then they just send the ball out wide to Finn Russell, finds Hugh Jones, goes through a nice gap in centre field, which is massive open defensive gap in the England team, goes to the middle of the field, And then Scotland got close to the try line, and they just kept pounding the try line. Eventually, the ball goes out to Tuipulotu. He grabber kicks the ball behind, and what's his name? Jones, the guy that made the break, chases up, puts the ball down, goes in the first try for Scotland. England, not only that looked like the defensive line was all out of shape, but England look a bit lost at this point. They're not really sure what's going on. Freddie Stewart is the only one doing anything that's catching the Kai ball. Everybody was kind of a bit lost. So England gets on board, Scotland gets on board 7 points to 0. And then Scotland continued with that pressure. Eventually, what happened here? Eventually, about 20 minutes in, England finally able to settle down on their, settle down into their rhythm and starting to show a lot of the new differences that was, obviously Bothwell has brought in the team, shifting the ball out wide with a lot of depth and just really getting that forwards, low body position, pounding into the Scottish defense. And the Scottish wasn't able to cope. And sure enough, 21 minutes into the game, England gets their first try on the board. They had a penalty right in front, didn't take the 3, which I was really impressed. If it wasn't Eddie Jones, definitely English would take the 3 here. They go for the 5-minute line out, and the ball comes out. England just pounded the try line, and eventually, what's his name? Eventually, the Scottish defense got drawn in. Mark Smith gets this ball, crossfield kick. Was this a crossfield kick? The first one? Mark Smith crossfield kick, and Max Malin runs in perfectly, like slams. I don't know what did it catch the ball. The ball bounced on the ground. He kind of like just grounded the ball as the ball is bouncing up off the ground. It was beautiful. It was just brilliant, beautiful kick. Scoring, and then suddenly England is on the ball. Owen Farrell misses this one. This wasn't too much of an angle. This one 5 points to 7 to England. After this try was scored, 5 minutes later, Scotland strikes back, 28th minute. Again, like I said, the kicking game going on wasn't really working for England. A really poor kick down middle of the field, straight to Van der Merwe. He is just unstoppable. He gets the ball 60 plus meters out, right? He runs, he steps 5 English players. And then there was Don Brunt's final player sweeping across, trying to take him down. Stiff arms him, just brute force his way through for the first try. Unbelievable. Like it was like you was literally like watching a guy running through a bunch of children, right? Like it was unbelievable how many people he beat in this try. And just pure individual brilliance sets up this try for Scotland. And then suddenly the scoreboard is 12 points to 5. Finn Russell did an Owen Farrell. Missed this kick, which was pretty much right in front. But anyway, so England was able to, after the try was scored, England was once again able to get themselves back in control. And finally, England basically started the game looking quite lost. Really started to build into the rhythm. Really started, like Scotland was just going backwards on the defense as England just patiently pounced through through over the advantage line again and again and again. And eventually, England just had a nice little play where they get the ball out, the back line, just nicely throw the ball out wide. What's his name? Max Malin was on the wing with some space, goes in for the try. Just that easy after just sustained pressure put on the Scottish team. Owen Farrell misses this conversion again. This was a bit bigger angle. So England going to halftime. 37 minutes in, 10 points to 12. So just before halftime, England was feeling that momentum, put more pressure on the Scottish half, gets himself in a position right in front of the goalpost. When the clock is red, gets another 3 points. So halftime score, 13 points to 12. England ahead by 1. Second half starts. England gets some early momentum, but the breakdown is starting to show as an issue for England. Scotland was able to kind of stifle a lot of England's ball at the breakdown. And then England, you can slowly see them shifting into the kicking game, relying on the kicking game more and more and more in the second half. Again, the second half scrums, Ellis Genge, unlike the first half, clearly starting to dominate over Willem Nel. 45 minutes again, there was a scrum where Genge just straight up popped Nel out. I thought this was straight up boring in. I don't see Genge move forward. I just see Genge go sideways. So I felt like this should have been penalty against England, but Genge did have, England did have a much more dominant scrum, and Willem Nel was really struggling clearly struggling at this point. So 47 minutes of the game, England was able to, build on that scrum dominance with some penalties. They get the ball out for a 10-meter line out, and just raw power again from the English team. It just powers himself slowly closer and closer to the try line, and eventually, the short ball to Ellis Genge back to the short side. And Genge just like, I've been waiting for this all day, boys. Powers himself through, just 2 steps, literally diving, too close to the ground, straight in for the try. England up 20 points to 12. And at this point, you're really starting to show that the English team, being young, are really fearless. A lot of these players just throwing their bodies into the breakdowns, throwing the bodies, carrying the ball forward, trying to get that bit of extra in the distance. And Scotland's looking like they're not really looking like on the back foot and potentially, going to get knocked out of this match soon. But 51 minutes into the game, Scotland finally gets gets himself into the English half. Just like pretty much the first opportunity they had inside the English half. The ball kind of gets loose, and again, the England was able to physically overpower the Scotland in a lot of these breakdowns as well. So the ball just pops out, and what's his name? Kinghorn. Is it Kinghorn? No. What's the name? White. Yeah, Ben White, the number 9, gets the ball loose. Tom Curry looked like he tries to go for the ball, but he missed the ball, and he also tries to make the tackle at the same time, so he misses the tackle, leaving a huge gap near the ruck. And Kinghorn just runs. Sorry, not Kinghorn. Ben White just runs through that gap, goes straight in, stepped a couple players, straight in for a try. So suddenly, Scotland gets himself back on the board, 19 points to 20. 53 minutes in the game, Scotland was able to disrupt another English lineout, which was, surely has the coaches a little bit worried. 58 minutes into the game, England was looking really dangerous. There was space everywhere. England was just, again, building momentum, utilizing the space. But Marcus Smith gets caught on the wing. Huge defensive effort by Tui Polotu, taking him out to save the Scottish from a try. Again, after this, Finn Russell tried to do a few crossfield kicks, accuracy not good, and England again, like Scotland just really not building anything, whereas England is clearly looking like in control of the game despite only being 1 point ahead. 63 minutes in, England brings on their new props, including Dan Cole. Dan Cole is for the place of the All Blacks. Dan Cole gets on and immediately gets a scrum penalty. Sure, he had dominance over what's the name? Showman? He had dominance over, Showman, but he popped his head out first. So I thought this was a clear penalty to Scotland, despite England had the dominance. But the referee says England had a dominance, gave the penalty to England. But regardless, a minute later, England was able to build this penalty into another penalty in a kickable range, and they kick another 3. 23 points. Here is where England is almost going back to the Eddie Jones era. If I thought England could have gone for a try here, since they are in good control of the game, so they kicked the penalty to extend the lead to 4 points. But I thought this was a bad decision. 3 minutes later, a bit of Scotland was able to get a little bit of futile attempt inside the English half. Maori Toji gets caught offside, so Scotland gets a very rare opportunity to take some points. So kick another 3. Stays in touch by 1 point behind, 23 points to 22. So after this try was scored, once again, England was just able to put a lot of this kicking pressure. They happened to just pin Scotland down into their own 22. And Scotland clearly just losing the kicking game just by the sheer distance. Neither team were doing super clinical kicking. But eventually Scotland just goes, all right, we're just going to run it, boys. Tui Polotu tries to run the ball out at their own 22, find a bit of space, and then they're just able to, link themselves up. Scotland run from their own 22 all the way into the England 22 with Kyle staying on the right wing, making some space down the side. And then with that run by Kyle staying, they set the ball up, swing it back around to the other end, to the left-hand side. Van der Merwe was on the wing, really close to the try line, pummels through steps a defender, pummels through a second one. dunks the ball in like a Superman, sets the ball up for another try for Scotland. Suddenly Scotland is ahead, 27 points to 23. Finn Russell converts this one, 29 points to 23. And England now has to convert a try to win with about 5 minutes left on the clock. And England, with the last 5 minutes, desperate attempt, pounding the Scottish try line. And Scotland was just holding on. England had a penalty as well. Just 2 minutes left. Kicked the ball out for a 10-meter line out. Scotland, stuffed them all, which was really impressive. And England just pounds the ball. And Scotland, what's his name? Jamie Ritchie, the captain, seals the ball. Turnover. Game over. Another win. 3 years in a row, Scotland has beaten England in the Six Nations. Man, that was insane. And this one is probably the best one out of all the wins, because this was at Twickenham and this was in front of the crowd. The last time they beat England at Twickenham was in an empty stadium, so this was even more impressive than that. Away in front of the crowd, and man, it was amazing. It was amazing. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts about the scrummaging. Let me know your thoughts about Van der Merwe's performances. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you guys next week for the news. Cheers.